I'm 60 years old, and my children don't come to visit me anymore. There wasn't a big argument, no single moment where everything broke apart. If there had been, maybe I could point to it, explain it, even blame it on something clear. But this is quieter than that. It happened slowly, so slowly that I didn't even notice it while it was happening. Now I sit in a house that stays clean because no one comes over. The chairs around the table are always in place. The phone doesn't ring as often as it used to. And the silence is what makes you think. I used to believe I was a good parent. Not perfect, but responsible. I worked hard. I made sure they had what they needed. Food on the table, clothes, a roof over their heads. I thought that was love in its most important form. At the time, life felt like a constant list of responsibilities. Wake up early, go to work, deal with stress, come home exhausted, and do it all again the next day. I kept telling myself that everything I was doing was for them. Every extra hour, every missed moment, every "I'm busy right now." There's one memory that never leaves me. My daughter stood in the doorway one evening holding a drawing she had made at school. She was smiling, excited, waiting for me to look. I remember glancing at her while typing something for work and saying, "Give me a minute." She waited. I didn't stop. Eventually she just said, "It's okay," and walked away. I don't remember what that drawing looked like. I don't remember what I was working on either. But I remember the feeling of that moment now, and how easily I let it pass. Back then, it didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like being responsible, like doing what I was supposed to do. That's the part no one warns you about. The things you regret most later often feel completely justified when you're living them. As the years went on, life only got busier. There were always deadlines, always problems to solve, always something that felt urgent. I was physically present in the house, but mentally I was somewhere else most of the time. I told myself they would understand when they grew up, and maybe they did, just not in the way I expected. When they became teenagers, I noticed the distance, but I explained it away. Everyone says teenagers pull away, that they become more independent, more private. I thought it was just a phase. What I didn't realize was that the distance didn't start there. It had been building for years. Every time I chose something else over them, even for a good reason, I was teaching them something. I just didn't realize what the lesson was. I thought love was something they would just know, something that didn't need to be shown constantly. I believed that providing for them was enough to prove it. But children don't measure love by sacrifices they don't see. They measure it by attention, by whether you look at them when they talk, by whether you pause what you're doing and truly listen, by whether they feel like they matter in that moment. And if those moments don't happen often enough, they learn to stop expecting them. I remember when my son stopped telling me about his day. It wasn't sudden. It happened gradually. Conversations became shorter. Answers became simpler. Eventually, there was almost nothing left to say. At the time, I thought he was just growing up. Now I think he had simply learned that I wasn't really there to hear it. That realization doesn't hit you all at once. It comes in pieces. Small memories that start to feel heavier the more you think about them. The birthday I left early because of work. The game I promised to attend but missed. The times I said, "We'll talk later," and never followed through. Each of those moments felt small on their own. None of them seemed important enough to change anything. But they did, because that's how distance is created. Not through one big decision, but through hundreds of small ones that slowly add up over time. Years pass faster than you expect when you're busy. Before I realized it, they were grown. They moved out, started their own lives, built their own routines. And I remember thinking that now, finally, we would have time to connect properly. But by then, something had already changed. There was a kind of politeness between us, a distance that didn't feel hostile but didn't feel close either. Conversations were fine, but they were surface level. We talked, but we didn't really connect. They call sometimes, on holidays, on birthdays, occasionally just to check in. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they've cut me off. It's that I'm no longer an important part of their daily lives. And when I really think about it, I understand why. Because I slowly removed myself from that place years ago without realizing it. The hardest part isn't the silence itself. It's understanding where it came from, sitting with your thoughts and seeing your past more clearly than you ever did before. Realizing that the moments you dismissed as small were actually the ones that mattered most. You begin to understand that love isn't something you store up for later. It's something you either give in the moment or lose the chance to give at all. I used to think being a good parent meant making sure my kids had everything they needed to succeed. Now I think it meant something much simpler. Being there when they didn't need anything at all. Just sitting with them, listening to them, giving them your attention without distraction, without rushing, without thinking about the next thing you have to do. I didn't do that enough, and children notice more than we think they do. Even when they don't say anything, they feel it. If you're listening to this and your kids are still young, or even if they're already grown, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I can only tell you what I see now, looking back. Time doesn't warn you when it's running out. It just moves forward, quietly, without asking if you're ready. And one day, you realize the moments you thought you could return to are gone. Your kids won't always ask for your attention. Eventually, they stop asking, not because they're angry, but because they've learned how to live without it. I don't blame my children for not visiting. That's something people expect me to say, but it wouldn't be honest. They built lives that don't depend on me. In a way, that's exactly what I raised them to do. I just didn't realize what it would feel like when they finally did. Sometimes I think about calling more, trying harder, finding ways to reconnect. And I do try, in my own way. But relationships aren't built in a moment of effort. They're built over years of presence. And when that presence is missing for too long, something changes in a way that can't always be undone. If there's anything worth understanding from this, it's this. The small moments are not small. They are the relationship. Every time you choose to be present, you're building something. And every time you choose not to be, you're slowly letting something fade. I didn't see that when it mattered. I see it now. And now the house is quiet. Not all at once, not suddenly, but slowly. So slowly that I didn't notice it happening until it was already done.